Good evening. We're 6 weeks into the new season and the league tables are starting to take shape. The leaders of all three divisions, Brighton, Charlton and Morecambe, were all in action today. We've also got a couple of cracking derby games to bring you, including one our guest knows all about. Yeah, Leroy's in the hot seat this evening. And here's a taste of what's on the menu tonight. It's usually pretty feisty when Forest take on Derby. Clough's Rams were looking up, while McLaren's Forest were looking for a pick-me-up. All the ingredients then for a tasty local affair. With our usual roundup from all the divisions, including the Championship, where the leaders were looking to extend their advantage over the chasing pack.
And if lively is what you're after, then look no further than today's match at the New Den. Millwall against West Ham in front of a packed crowd. Not one for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, we'll hear more from Clem a little later, but we start tonight in the East Midlands, and a game that always serves up a treat as Nottingham Forest took on Derby County. It's been a difficult start for Steve McLaren since he took over at Forest, managing just one win in the league so far. But speak to any Forest fan and they'd like nothing more than to kickstart their season against their arch-rivals Derby, who began the day at the other end of the table in 5th place. But they have stuttered lately. Martin Fisher was at the City Ground to see who would walk off with the Brian Clough Trophy.
It's a rivalry that dates back to October 1892, a rivalry that escalated in the 70s and has intensified even further in recent years. Forest versus Derby, one of the most eagerly anticipated fixtures on the Championship calendar, and one that traditionally brings goals at this end of the A52, an astonishing 16 in the last 3 clashes at the City Ground. Forest are unchanged. Their only doubt was Luke Chambers, whose girlfriend is about to give birth to their first child. Nothing happening yet, so the skipper plays. Greening, Reid, Miller and Derbyshire, all summer signings. Injuries upset Derby's settled side. 3 changes. First starts this season for Roberts and Robinson. It's 6 months since Thomas Sifka last began for the Rams. Ex-Red Nathan Tyson is amongst their subs. Let battle commence. Derby get us underway, attacking the Trent end away to our left-hand side. Early goals have been a theme in this game here recently. Up goes Miller with the touch, collected by Derbyshire, back towards Miller, danger here, Miller is in, and off the line by Roberts, penalty has been given. Penalty given by referee Matheson, is it? And a red card for the goalkeeper as well. What a dramatic start at the City Ground. I did warn you that there's always drama early on in this one. How about this? Goalkeeper Frank Fielding sent off. Let's have another look at this. The flick on from Miller, the layoff from Derbyshire, and then Miller bustling into the 6-yard box, and Fielding dives across him, and referee Matheson points to the spot and slowly but surely brought out the red card. What an introduction for Adam Legzdins, signed in the summer from Burton Albion, and in front of the Derby supporters a chance to make himself an instant hero. Lewis McGugan has taken Forest's earlier penalties this season. He's on the bench, so it's Andy Reid. Scores! Forest in front again at the City Ground inside the opening minutes. Just the start he wanted. That might just lift some of the pressure that has been building on the Forest boss. Goalkeeper given no chance, sent the wrong way. And Reid across to the A block to celebrate. McLaren had 3 years at Derby as a player in the mid-80s, and a decade later was the assistant to Jim Smith as Derby climbed out of the Championship and got into the top flight. Ben Davis. There's a bad slip there for one of the Forest players who stayed down. We'll come back to that in a moment. Hendrick for Brayford. Forest, and certainly their fans, are expecting Derby to put this ball out of play, but I'm not sure that Derby know what's happened here. Play continues with Shackle. Nigel Clough is telling Derby to carry on here. Carry on, he says. It's not our problem. It's Ward against Majewski. Ward to the byline. And still going, Jamie Ward. It's a great run and he scored! Jamie Ward with the equaliser. Forest wanted Derby to put the ball out of play. Nigel Clough said, no, you carry on. And boy, did Jamie Ward do precisely that. On he went. And Ward levels for Derby County. But it will be another huge slice of controversy in this fixture. Got away from Majewski, got away from Gunter, and then somehow beat his Northern Ireland colleague Lee Camp at his near post. 1-1. Chris Cohen is the man down for Forest. Now he slipped there, there's no foul, it's not a head injury. There's nothing to say that Derby should kick the ball out of play. But there was an expectation amongst some of the Forest players that they should do that. But Nigel Clough, I saw him down beneath me, say to Derby, carry on, carry on. Faced by Lynch. Worked the space well. Ward goes in. Well, he's the smallest man on the pitch, Jamie Ward. Only stands at 5'5", but he got his head on that one. Couldn't direct it, but he got his head to it. Testing ball for Shackle. Reed inviting Lynch to try again. Is that handball? Yes, it was. Davis with it. Brayford pumps the ball away, and what's the referee going to do? Yellow card for John Brayford. It's a soft yellow. And here's the handball, no doubt about that. Reed swings it in. Good delivery. Forest with another chance with Greening. Shouts of handball. Who handled it? Was it a red shirt or a white shirt? Well, the referee didn't spot anybody. And it's a throw-in. Well, the shouts there for handball against Shackle. His arms were close to his body. Scott Matheson with that big call early on in this game. Looked to me as though Fielding was just standing his ground. Certainly his eyes are on the ball, not the man. It's a big shout by the referee. Controversial moment, not the only one in this game. Miller. Moosey. Lynch. Good ball. He's found Miller. Miller with the shots. Through the legs of O'Brien, and Legstins was down smartly to block. And Miller has looked the most likely for Forest throughout the afternoon. It was a powerful drive. Robinson still full of running, and he's kept it in. Held up by Chambers. Davis in a bit of room. Back post have got a man over. What a miss! What a miss by Hendrick! Oh, how did he put that one wide? Oh, how costly might that prove to be? Cue the boos. 20 minutes into the second half. The former Nottingham Forest striker Nathan Tyson, when he got on the Derby team coach earlier today, by the way, Nigel Clough led a chorus of boos to get him used to this kind of reception. Real urgency about Forest now. Time ticking by. Miller, Findlay. Chance to centre now. Good ball in. Derbyshire in there. Just a touch, that's all it required. Might well applaud the delivery. What a ball from Findlay. Cannot complain about his team's work rate today. They have dug in and tried to cover every blade of grass. Over the top by O'Brien. Forest appealing for offside here. Morgan's clearance. Ben Davies first to it. Struck goalwards and in! Oh, what a finish! And it's Jeff Hendrick! The man that missed the glorious chance earlier. Myers, he made up for it with that sweet strike. Terrible defending by Forest. Morgan's clearance was weak. Davis in there quickly to pick up the pieces. Hendrick said, this is mine. Bang! Goal! 10-man Derby take the lead with less than 20 to go at the City Ground. What a sweet strike from the Irishman. McGugan looking for Lynch, who's in behind Brayford here. Joel Lynch, what a save, Legzdins. What a stop. That was hammered towards goal by Joel Lynch. Strain beginning to show on the face of Steve McLaren. Majewski can hit them and does. Might bounce anywhere, it's Morgan. In the way, Anderson. Moussi over the top. Roberts hasn't got far with that. Chambers! Oh, Chambers. Roberts couldn't get distance in this, stretching every sinew. It was going to be a special finish if it was to find the back of the net. The Derby fans whistling for the final whistle. The Forest fans whistling their disgust. All eyes on referee Scott Matheson, who blows for full time. It's all over at the City Ground. What a dramatic afternoon. Nigel Clough wins on his former stomping ground. A day that couldn't have started much worse. His goalkeeper sent off. Forest in front from the spot after 2 minutes. But then Jamie Ward and then Jeff Hendrick scored their first goals of the season for Derby to win and pile the pressure on the beleaguered Steve McLaren. It's a wonderful day for Derby fans. It's a miserable one for Forest ones. At the City Ground, Nottingham Forest 1, Derby County 2.
Sum up that performance and that reward today.
Well, from our lads, it was an absolutely staggering performance to go out to 10 men, 2 minutes on the clock, 1-0 down, and then come back and win. We'd have been extremely happy with a point at any point, but to actually come back and win, incredible performance really by the lads in there, because we haven't spent much. We haven't spent too much money over the last couple of years, but what we know is that they're an extremely honest bunch with an awful lot of heart.
Well, Steve, what are your thoughts after that one?
Shock. Pure shock, and I think that's how we played after what was a fantastic start. Penalty, 10 men, and we never looked in trouble, and then defended so poorly, conceded the goal, and from then it was as if shocked.
Derby's equaliser, Forest's Chris Cohen was down. Derby worked the ball to the left-hand side. I saw you say to your players, play on, play on. They did. They got an equaliser.
Yeah, we played to the whistle.
We should have defended the situation and then complained. We didn't. We conceded. We felt aggrieved, and we never got that aggravation really away from us. So, lessons to be learnt, and harsh ones. I said it'd be difficult to go out in Nottingham now for many weeks, and deservedly so after a performance like that. Unacceptable, and I feel for the fans. I feel for everybody involved in the club, and we take responsibility for that, and we have to solve it. This is very low. This is very low, and we've got to make sure that we now get it right and start climbing.
Yeah, some pretty strong words there from Steve McLaren. He didn't pull any punches there, did he?
No, he looked stunned, but he was honest, not looking for excuses, which I think was refreshing, because the performance wasn't good enough. And but Derby took advantage. Tactically they got it right, worked their socks off. Theo Robson covered every blade of grass.
It was a colossal effort from him.
Yeah, from everyone within the team as well. And I think Nigel Clough was very proud.
And the game got off to an explosive start, 64 seconds in. I don't think there's much debate over the actual penalty itself, but do you think Frank Fielding maybe should not have been sent off?
I think it's harsh. Ishmael Miller does really well. Wins the first header, spins round in it, and just pokes it past Frank Fielding in goal. Now, there's not a lot Frank can do. He's looking at the ball. I think the ref has got no alternative but to give the penalty. But just look at Frank from this side. As the ball goes to the side, he's only looking at the ball and he's trying to make the save. He can't get out of the way of Ishmael Miller, but the rules as they are, the referee has got to send him off. And it's harsh, and Andy Reid makes it even harsher by putting the penalty away.
That set the tone, really, for the rest of the game, didn't it? And there was some controversy over Derby's opening goal. Chris Cohen, we saw, went down. Jamie Ward went and scored for Derby. It was a terrific goal from him. But were Derby right to play on?
They certainly were. I mean, there's a long time between Chris Cohen going down and Jamie Ward actually scoring. You see the referee's in a great position. He sees it's not a head injury, and it's at his discretion is if he should stop the game. Jamie Ward does extremely well, but let's be honest, the defending is absolutely shocking through it. Majewski dives in, Gunter has it stuck through his legs, and Lee Camp leaves his near post open. And Forest can only blame themselves. And it's great play from Jamie Ward. You have to give him credit for being
reminiscent
positive.
of Chris Commons in the past.
It certainly is. You know, he has got ability, Jamie Ward, and he's shown it there. But from then on, Forest, just their performance was very, very poor.
The comeback was then complete thanks to Jeff Hendrick. And you've got to give him huge amounts of credit because at one point it went horrendously wrong for him. It
went horrendously wrong, and I thought he was going to get the headlines for all the wrong reasons. You know, this header from 3 yards out, the best chance of the second half. And he's just got the whole goal gaping, but he just takes his eye off the ball. I'm not sure if he's looking at the keeper diving across. He totally misses the target. But look at the reaction of the Derby players. They're straight there to him to give him a little bit of a boost. And he takes that on board and he steps forward and he does that and puts it in the back of the net. Takes it off Ben Davies and just guides it beautifully into the bottom corner.
I don't think Ben would have forgiven him if he missed that.
He certainly wouldn't, but it was his first senior goal. And what a way to remember your first goal. And I'm sure the miss is in the past.
So Derby back to winning ways. As for Nottingham Forest, they're up 5 points from their first 7 games. And this is largely with the same defence that Billy Davies had to work with. They finished 6th last season, 3rd the season before. So why is it not clicking this time round?
Well, there's been a lot going on at Nottingham Forest, as we've all seen with, Steve McLaren saying they're not getting enough players in. But I think the way the midfield play, they're so narrow when, the likes of Reid, Majewski, when they lose the ball, it's really difficult for them to get back into the shape. And Jonathan Green is playing that holding role in front of the back four. So at times it's been quite easy to get at that Forest back four. So I think you have to defend it as a team. Steve McLaren would know that, and he'll want to put that right as soon as possible.
Right, let's find out whether it was a good afternoon for those teams at the top of the Championship now. Starting with the leaders, Brighton. And with second place Southampton not playing until Sunday, Albion had a chance to extend their lead at the top when they travelled to big spenders Leicester.
The last time a side at the top of the table came to Leicester, they were beaten by the Foxes. So Brighton hoping they wouldn't suffer the same fate as their South Coast cousins, Southampton. But with Sven-Göran Eriksson's future at Leicester the subject of mounting speculation, a win was what the home side needed. But the league leaders began with confidence, Craig McCall-Smith going close early on. But Leicester found their rhythm and thought they'd got in front. Darius Vassell was fouled by Marcus Painter, but the ball broke to Lee Peltier. He fired home, but referee Graham Scott had already blown his whistle. Frustration for the Foxes, especially when Paul Konchesky sent the free kick flying over. Goalless at the break, but 45 seconds after the restart, the home side went in front. Vassell with the tricks and turns before a peach of a ball found the head of the arriving Yuki Abe. The visitors pushed for an equaliser, and McCall-Smith spurned a golden chance to the disbelief of his teammates. Leicester sustained waves of Brighton pressure, but the defence held strong. Will Buckley's breaking run, Ryan Harley denied despite 2 bites of the cherry. But the Seagulls' hopes of equalising were diminished 10 minutes from time. Painter sent off for a blatant handball. A first defeat then for Gus Poyet's side.
It was something it didn't work, so there is no excuses. We take it, we congratulate Leicester, and we move on.
I think we deserve to win today, but at the end you feel that you suffer a little bit because 1-0, you never know what's happening in the last minutes.
Tony Mowbray arrived in the capital with the Middlesbrough team aiming for a club record 6 successive league away win. But host Crystal Palace have been going well too, unbeaten at home and high on confidence after knocking out Wigan in the Carling Cup. And it was Palace who opened better here, Jermaine Easter demanding alertness from Carla Kamey in a largely forgettable first half. After the break, Borough had more bite. Justin Hoyt, more as a wing-back than a full-back, tested Julian Speroni. And after 65 minutes, the visitors made their breakthrough. Dutchman Marvin Emnes has been unstoppable this season, and this was his 8th goal in 9 matches. That was the good news. The bad news was to follow. Borough played the final 15 minutes with 10 men. Joe Bennett was shown a second yellow card for trying to drag down lively substitute Wilfred Zaha. And there were some nervy moments in the rain for Borough late on. Palace squatted the best chance of salvaging a point when Easter beat the goalkeeper, but not the bar. Borough haven't lost since mid-April and they're now top of the Championship.
Well, we're doing okay at the moment. I think it's the players have got a bit of belief about them and the way we're asking them to play, and I think they know that the front players can break away and score goals.
A minute's silence was held in memory of the miners who died in Wales this week before Blackpool took on Cardiff. Both teams were chasing their fourth league win of the season, and Cardiff began brightly with Peter Whittingham testing Matthew Gilks early on. Kenny Miller then beat the Blackpool defence, but looking for his first league goal since the opening weekend of the season, chose to shoot rather than find better placed teammates. Cardiff were then undone at the back themselves as Billy Clark found Kevin Phillips. The veteran's goal-bound header was tipped over the bar by an alert David Marshall in the visitors' goal. Marshall's opposite number Gilks was then in action again as Aaron Gunnarsson's long throw was met by Mark Hudson. 3 minutes after half-time, Cardiff's summer signing from Watford, Don Cowie, scored a magnificent header to put Malky Mackay's team into the lead. But Blackpool levelled just after the hour mark, Kevin Phillips rolling back the years with a superb finish to rescue a point for the Tangerines.
Well, it took a wonderful goal from a wonderful player to which I didn't think we deserved. I thought they did well. I thought Cardiff looked better than us today, and you know, I haven't said that very often.
I thought we were magnificent today. I thought we played so well. 26 attempts on their goal, and you know, at times I was really delighted with the way we played.
Hull had edged their last two games 1-0 ahead of the visit of Portsmouth. But with only 4 goals in their opening 6 league matches, including just 1 at home, it wasn't all smiles for boss Nigel Pearson. Portsmouth arrived at the KC Stadium looking for a first away win, and they were nervous from the outset. Jamie Ashdown relieved to see Tom Kearney's long-range effort go over rather than under his bar. But it wasn't long before the ball was in the net. Robert Corran's shot rattled the post, and although Martin Waghorn thought he'd scored on his home debut, the celebrations were cut short. Hull, though, did take the lead after 11 minutes. Kearney found Corran in space, and the former West Brom man did the rest. You couldn't guess he was celebrating the birth of his daughter in the week, though, could you? Portsmouth almost drew level before the break. Benjani's looping header helped on by James Chester, but the defender's blushes were spared by David Norris bundling keeper Adriano Basso over the line. Hull continued to dominate after the break. How's this for a frantic goalmouth scramble? Before the ball fell kindly to Robbie Brady. Try as they might, Portsmouth couldn't find an equaliser, and it got worse for Steve Cottrell late on. Luke Varney was dismissed for a challenge on James Chester. So Portsmouth's away day blues continue, but 1 goal again, enough to push Hull up the table.
I'm really pleased with the players today, but I'm also very pleased for them because I think you know, we've had a bit of a up and down start, but they've showed a lot of character over the last few weeks.
Yeah, they'll be singing 1-0 to the Hull City before too long at the KC Stadium. Well, you're the perfect man to have in the studio. Liam's part of the defence. 8 of Hull's last 10 wins have been by 1-0. What is the secret behind that success? He must be enjoying it for a start.
He certainly is. He said they have to ground out some results, you know, when they haven't played well, but he's also, they've played well. They played well today, and I think the key is they've got a very young back four. Adrian Basso's come on in goal, ex-Bristol City goalkeeper, and he's done well. But that back four of Liam, Chester, Hobbs and Dudgeon, you know, Dawson's out, he's injured, but he's a bit of experience in there. But those players have really gelled well, and the players in front of them have worked really hard. But the one player that seems to stand out is James Chester, 22 years old, centre-half, only 5'10", but he's been absolutely exceptional this season, and he's going to be a fantastic player. Nigel Pearson certainly knows a centre-half when he sees
He certainly
one.
does, being one himself, yeah. As for Middlesbrough, their terrific run continues. I think it's 1 defeat in 21 in all. Club record of 6 away wins in a row now. And all this with Tony Mowbray not spending a penny over the summer.
Well, and there's his scoring goals, which certainly helps. And Gordon Stratton brought some good players in there. Let's not forget, the likes of Robson. Nicky Bailey, I thought, was a very good signing. And Scott McDonald, the Australian international. And he's getting the best out of those players as well. And that's coupled with the likes of Joe Bennett, who's now a regular at the club. An England under-21, good footballer, goes forward well, good left foot. Got sent off today. He's going to be an exceptional player as well.
As for Leicester, finally signs of progress for them under Sven. And a clean sheet, particularly against Gus Poyet's Brighton, is no mean feat in itself.
Absolutely. They were leaking goals, weren't they, earlier on in the season? But I think Sven's found a settled team. It doesn't matter how much money you spend, you need to have belief within the team. He seems to have got that. Since they've beaten Southampton, who are top of the table, and now Brighton, another top of the table side. They want to make it 3 when they meet Middlesbrough very soon as well.
In midweek, we saw Ian Holloway talk about Kevin Phillips being the best finisher he's ever worked with, and he showed it perfectly today.
I think there's a lot of managers who have been saying that about Kevin Phillips. He just seems to know how to find the back of the net, wherever he is around that 18-yard box. That was a fantastic goal today, but I've seen him score every single type of goal, headers, tap-ins, and he's going to do it for a little while longer, I'm sure.
Now then, we've already sampled one derby game from the East Midlands. Well, on Saturday, there was another one in the capital. We sent Clem along to the Den to witness firsthand a game that, it's safe to say, has got a bit of history.
Of all the matches in the Football League this season, it's the one guaranteed to send shivers down your spine. Millwall against West Ham, one of the bitterest rivalries in English football, with roots that go way back. It was here on the Isle of Dogs that Millwall were founded in 1885, with a team comprising mainly of tinsmiths from Morton's Canned Food Factory. A commemorative plaque marks the spot on the Isle where it once stood. A decade later, just along the bend in the river at Canning Town, another works team were formed as Thames Ironworks, later to become West Ham United. Their relationship was intense both on and off the pitch. The companies operated as rival dockyards, and when it came to football matches between the two, as these old matchday programmes show, things could get pretty ugly. Millwall's relocation from the Isle of Dogs to the Den on the south side of the river in 1910 meant that the Thames provided a natural barrier to the rivalry. Then in 1926, differences of opinion between the rival docks as to whether or not to support the general strike did little to improve relations. Sadly, in more recent years, the rivalry has become synonymous with marauding hordes of football hooligans.
Police are studying CCTV footage of the violence at West Ham's Upton Park ground during a match against Millwall.
Despite the best efforts of the clubs, scenes like these from the Carling Cup match between West Ham and Millwall at Upton Park 2 years ago have become the enduring image of encounters between the two. Is it a game you look forward to or a game you dread?
Look forward to, he says in a dreadful way. No, I look forward to any big game at the Den, but obviously it will be great when we get through the game. It's all gone well. We've obviously got 3 points and the crowd have gone away happy.
Although the way Millwall fans celebrated West Ham's relegation from the Premier League last season shows there's also a more subtle side to the rivalry. Do you understand the roots of the rivalry, where it comes from?
Oh, it's just based on the area. Bearing in mind that we were on North London side originally, came from the Isle of Dogs. I mean, imagine the rivalry came from there originally, and you've got the two groups of dockers.
It was a 1926 general strike. Millwall stayed in and we stayed out in the picket lines.
We both went out together, but they went back early.
Difficult to treat it as just another game?
Yeah, it's a local derby for the supporters, and it's a much anticipated game. We've worked hard to get here, in truth, to be on a par with West Ham, and we've done very well in recent years to get this fixture. So we're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, you know all about this crowd down here. Having played for them for a couple of seasons in the early 80s.
Yeah, that was at the old Den many years ago, of course, and obviously local derby. We're looking forward to the game, and hoping it's a very, very exciting game, and nothing more than that.
We are Millwall, Super Millwall, we are Millwall from the Den.
Clearly this is a very vociferous crowd. They're going to be directly supporting you. Do you take that into the dressing room? Do you use that as part of your motivation?
Very much so. We talk about bringing the crowd into play, and there's if you look in football, do the crowd motivate the players, or is it vice versa? Well, for me as a manager and for us, it's the players' responsibility to bring the crowd into play.
Well, here we are, 5 minutes before kick-off, and the atmosphere is absolutely banging. And if you think this is loud, wait till the teams come out of that tunnel.
Millwall goalkeeper David Ford seemed unaware the game had kicked off and was almost embarrassed by Henry Lansbury's shot from 40 yards which flew just wide. A lucky escape for the home side. The Lions recovered their composure though, and the Buatsa forced Robert Green into the action, but the West Ham keeper was equal to the job. Millwall's last league goal came exactly a month ago. Here Liam Trotter came close, the effort parried and then held by Green. Having scored on his West Ham debut last Saturday against Portsmouth, Lansbury was at the heart of most of the Hammers' attacking moves. Having seen Ford keep out his initial effort, the on-loan Arsenal midfielder was then denied by the crossbar. Trotter had the final chance of an entertaining first half, but couldn't control his volley, which went upwards instead of goalwards. Could David Bentley's West Ham spell reinvigorate his once promising career? Well, here he could have become an instant Hammers hero, but fired wide.
I know Nils not bad, away from home, respect the point, good clean sheet by the lads, and of course a little disappointed in the dressing room that we haven't won it.
As captain, did it take much tub thumping in the dressing room to get across to some of the newer boys what this game's all about?
No, it didn't need a lot. I think games like these take care of themselves, didn't they? But we needed to make the new lads aware of what it was going to entail, and yeah, I thought they, handled themselves very well.
The hate it's there for all to see, if you like, and I think it is. It is fair to say that's what it is.
Which is terrible in this day and age.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the respect they've got for each other too is good, and I think in hindsight, hopefully it doesn't go further than that. It's just a bit of banter.
Yeah, it was a good clean sheet for us, and we competed well. If I'm being critical, we'd like to have found more going forward in the second half. Just didn't quite have that final ball.
Kenny Jackett, relatively pleased there, but he wouldn't have been pleased if this had gone in, would he?
He would have been devastated. And,
shouldn't the officials have just checked with the goalkeepers if they were ready or not?
I thought it was kind of part of the rules where you see referees just acknowledging that the keepers are ready. David Ford is at the back of the goal. And if that goes in, just imagine, the atmosphere, Millwall might have come back for it, but it would have made it really difficult for him and would have made it a difficult game for the referee to handle. I think he might have been a bit relieved that it didn't hit the back of the net.
But certainly well spotted by Henry Lansbury, though, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's a good player.
He certainly is, yeah.
He signed a new contract at Arsenal, they're not going to let him go.
No. Now, both of these clubs, quite rightly so, they're desperate to move this fixture on. Encouragingly, it passed off without any incident. Mm-hmm. But you've been part of this fixture, haven't you? It wasn't that long ago, to be honest, when things weren't quite so nice.
No, I mean, people want to talk about what usually is going off the pitch. What's going on outside the ground, what's going on the way to the game, what's going on after the game. But the clubs aren't interested in that now. I went to Millwall a little while ago, and they've got a great ethos there, and they want to just move on, just play their football, just like West Ham, and move on. And that's what they did today, and I'm really pleased about that.
To the rest of the games from the Championship now, and it's been an up-and-down period for Peterborough. Since putting 7 past Ipswich, they've lost all 3 League and Cup games without scoring. Well, Posh were looking to get back on track when Burnley came to London Road.
So 2 out-of-sorts teams on show at London Road, but which one would breathe new life into their season? Burnley's promotion hopes depend on tightening their defence. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 19 League and Cup games, and that soon became 20 as Emile Sinclair, on his full debut since signing from Macclesfield, scored inside 3 minutes. Sinclair proved a constant threat and was only denied a second goal by some good defending from Burnley's Ben Mee. The Clarets' best chance of the opening half fell to Jay Rodriguez, but he couldn't keep his shot on target. That miss proved expensive 7 minutes before the break. Once again, that man Sinclair scored, making the most of Burnley defender David Edgar's mistake to fire in from 12 yards. But for all their attacking instincts, Peterborough have yet to keep a clean sheet too this season, and Burnley halved the arrears on the stroke of half-time through Keith Tracy's 25-yarder. After the break, Charlie Austin had Burnley's best chance to level, but his drive was tipped over by Paul Jones. The Posh holding on for their first winning 4.
It was an emotional return to Ellen Road for Neil Kilkenny. The Bristol City midfielder left Leeds in the summer, and he won't forget this first visit in a hurry. All but one of Leeds' points this season have come at home, and they gave themselves hope of adding more home comfort after barely 3 minutes, when Adam Clayton was set up to score his second league goal in a Leeds shirt. In contrast to the home side, Bristol City have picked up all but one of their 5 points on their travels. They equalised within 8 minutes when that man Kilkenny marked his return trip to his former employers with that cool finish. Leeds striker Ross McCormack has enjoyed a fine start to the season, and only Cole Skoo's late intervention denied the Scottish striker a scoring opportunity. Leeds continued to enjoy the majority of chances after the restart, but Robert Snodgrass won't be proud of this miss. Leeds have used 22 players this season, more than any other side in the Championship, and much of that is down to ill discipline. 3 players have received red cards, and Patrick Kisnorbo's challenge on Nicky Maynard saw him become the 4th dismissal as the visitors were awarded a penalty. Maynard dusted himself down, but then fluffed his kick. Or was that a good save by Andy Lonergan? Well accustomed to playing with 10 men, Simon Grayson's side demonstrated their powers of recovery. With 4 minutes remaining, Leeds top scorer McCormack tucked in his 6th league goal of the season to snatch all the points.
Watford secured their first win of the season last week at Reading, and Sean Dyche's men were after more of the same against a Barnsley side yet to win at home. Mind you, the Hornets had taken just 1 point from their last 5 trips to Oakwell and were soon on the back foot. David Perkins unlucky as his shot came back off the post in the first minute. Moments later, Danny Drinkwater tried his luck from 25 yards, his effort flying just wide of Scott Loach's post. The Tykes were dominant. Jacob Butterfield, captaining Barnsley for the first time, their chief tormentor. He wasted a great chance, though, to give the home side the lead. But Watford weathered the storm, and against the run of play went ahead on 37 minutes. Mark Yates' header found the informed Marvin Sordell, the England under-21 striker, with his 3rd goal in 4 League and Cup matches. But Keith Hill's side were playing well and got the equaliser 12 minutes after the restart. Jim O'Brien's ball from the right found Andy Gray, the veteran striker, scoring from close range. Barnsley endeavoured to find a winner, Jim McNulty coming close late on, but they had to settle for a 3rd successive draw, a lucky escape for Watford.
We weren't at the races today, and they were, to be fair to them. I thought they passed it well and they moved well, which we think is part of our makeup, and we didn't get going at all.
Brian McDermott says he's having sleepless nights over Reading's poor form this season. The side have taken just 4 points in their first 6 matches and lost their last 5 games in all competitions. Perhaps buoyed by the fact that Doncaster are actually doing even worse in the Championship this season, Reading came close to taking the lead in the 7th minute. Simon Church set up Jimmy Kebby, but Doncaster keeper Neil Sullivan was in no mood to be beaten. Church was the provider again 2 minutes later. This time the Welsh international's cross was aimed at the head of Noel Hunt, but he couldn't find the target. Having seen his teammates spurn opportunities, Church decided to have a go himself. But sent clear by Joby McAnuff, he too couldn't find a way past the 41-year-old keeper in the visitors' goal. Michaeli Ledgerwood was the next Reading player to try his luck, but the former QPR midfielder couldn't get his shot on target. When Reading did take the lead 7 minutes after the break, it came as a result of a mistake from the previously infallible Sullivan. Church more than happy to accept this chance to put the home side in front. The goal seemed to settle Brian McDermott's side, and they doubled their lead 7 minutes later. Substitute Adam Lafondre headed his first Reading goal to send them up from 2nd bottom to 14th.
We've had a bit of a dip, and today we've come through it, and all we can do now is concentrate on the Coventry game. That's the now, and we have to live in the now. Maybe we've lived a little bit in the past, possibly. I'm guilty of that. You know, the Wembley game, we felt we should have been in the Premiership. It's not to be, but now we can kick on, and that gives us a base.
Yeah, you can see the relief on Brian McDermott clearly there, and you can see the Reading fans have been pretty frustrated lately with the club's policy. I think they call it, buying small, selling big. But the new boys who came in, they did brilliantly on Saturday.
Yeah, they certainly did, and I can see the fans' frustration, but when they've got to cut their cloth accordingly, obviously Shane Long's gone on, Kevin Doyle's gone on, but it's a policy that they've worked very well, and they brought Adam Lafondra in now, a snip of the price that they sold Shane Long, and that's the way that club's going to go if they're to have a good future.
Obviously, they beat Doncaster. They're now without a win in 19. Sean O'Driscoll's done wonders at that club. But he must have a great relationship, no doubt, with the chairman, John Ryan. But at what point will the chairman start to think this run cannot continue?
Well, they'll be talking to each other on a daily basis, and Sean's not silly. I've known Sean a long, long time. He'll be aware of what's going on. But it's a club that Sean's brought a long way. Dave Penny brought it out of non-league. Sean's brought it further into the Championship. And they've got to see what is success to Doncaster. Is it staying in the Championship? And I think that's what it is. And at the moment, can you get somebody better in to do the job that Sean is doing at the moment? I'm not sure that they can.
OK. We spoke about Alf, Adam Lafondra. Same goes for Emil Sinclair now, who's at Peterborough. He's gone up 2 divisions into the Championship. Off the mark now with 2 goals. He's got power and pace. He's almost made for Peterborough, isn't he?
Well, he's perfect. He's the running power of Michael Smith that they've been missing. He's quick, he's strong, he's powerful, and he finishes well. Should have had a hat-trick, in all honesty, here, but he stepped in, his full debut that was, and got a couple of goals, and I'm sure Barry Fry might have had something to do with that signing as well.
Would have done. We also saw a valuable goal from Ross McCormack at Leeds, and he's certainly flourishing now. 7 goals in 9 games, I think it is. He's playing in his more natural position.
And he's had a run of games, and Bristol City don't defend this set piece very well, but he pops up on the far post and gets his goal. 7 goals, as you said, in 9 games, run of games, use comfortable position, and you get success. It's not rocket science.
Puts Leeds in good heart for the small match of Manchester United on Tuesday. To League One now, and Charlton managed to go top of the table without even kicking a ball in midweek after Sheffield United chipped in 3 against Huddersfield. So the Addicts were looking to stay at the summit when they travelled to Rochdale.
Charlton Athletic have made a great start to the season under Chris Powell and made the journey to Scotland top of the table. They took the lead after 20 minutes when Danny Hollands netted his first goal for the club. A double reason to celebrate for Hollands, with his fiancée expecting triplets early next week. The midfielder was a summer arrival from Bournemouth, as was Royce Wiggins, and it was Wiggins who doubled Charlton's lead a minute before half-time. It was also his first goal in a Charlton shirt. At the break, the Addicts appear to be cruising, but the complexion of the game changed in a 3-minute spell midway through the second half. Ashley Grimes pulled a goal back with a perfectly placed header. And just 3 minutes later, it was 2-2. David Ball getting his 3rd goal in 4 matches. Charlton's lead had evaporated in a matter of moments. But the home side's hard work was undone with 10 minutes to play. Hollands getting on the score sheet yet again. It's now 4 consecutive away wins for the visitors. Steve Ayres' side have just 1 win in 7 home matches.
I'm really pleased we got the winner in the end. I felt over the 90 maybe our play merited the 3 points, but I'm sure Steve might say differently.
Normal service resumed for Sheffield United, who were keen to show the midweek defeat to Huddersfield was merely a blip. Straight from the kick-off, the Blades got to work. Chet Evans marking his first start since April with the opener after just 3 minutes. Shaken by the early blow, Colchester were hit again just 9 minutes later. A long punt from Neil Collins put Chris Porter in the clear, who weighted his chip to perfection. John Ward's men never recovered from a rotten start, and after the break the Blades went for more. Right back Matthew Lowton should have increased the lead. Yet another let-off for the Essex club, whose 4-match unbeaten run was left in tatters. Midway through the second half, Stephen Quinn exchanged passes with Evans before curling home United's 3rd. Danny Wilson's men top of the pile once again.
Over 46 games a season, Colchester are going to find it hard to compete with Sheffield United, but on an afternoon game we wanted to get a bit closer to them, but we made life so difficult at the beginning that we were always chasing.
A League One heavyweight clash at Stadium MK as 2 of the early season favourites squared off.
Huddersfield winger Danny Ward's early thunderbolt nearly caught the home side cold. The Terriers did eventually take the lead. Alan Lee probably should have done better with the header. The rebound fell for Scott Arfield. He rolled the ball home to give the visitors the lead. With Jabbo Abire and Charlie McDonald missing, the home side lacked their usual firepower, but Gary McKenzie's header forced a good save out of Ian Bennett, Ian Lewington following up to equalise. 1-1 and tempers were starting to fray. 4 minutes from time, McKenzie lost his cool and off-camera clashed with Lee. There was no doubt in referee Chris Foy's mind as to what happened. His punishment, a red card as well as a penalty. Town's leading scorer Lee Novak took the responsibility. Goalkeeper David Martin took the glory to earn his side a point.
Obviously when you get a penalty 4 minutes from the end as well, you're hoping that's a great chance to win the game, but it wasn't to be, and we dust ourselves down. But I'm delighted, certainly with the first half performance. I thought we were terrific.
Preston were looking to extend their winning run to 6 matches against promotion-chasing Brentford, and things started brightly as after just 10 minutes Neil Mellor scored his 5th goal of an already impressive season. Brentford are unbeaten in 3 matches and levelled a little over 10 minutes later when on-loan Celtic man Niall McGinn was presented with a simple tap-in after good work from Miles Weston. However, the parity didn't last long. Phil Brown's side retook the lead in the 32nd minute. Ian Hume's strike was just too good for Richard Lee and the Bees' goal. And the final sting in the tail came with less than 20 minutes to play. Mellor had already hit the post when he did eventually manage to grab a second. 6 wins in a row now for the visitors.
Back to earth with a bump for Stevenage, who put 5 past Sheffield Wednesday in the week. Although when Craig Reed went down under Christian Pearce's challenge inside the first 10 minutes, the home fans were dreaming of a repeat display. Reed took the responsibility himself from 12 yards, but found Stuart Nelson on top of his game. County boss Martin Allen has been quick to praise his players after a hectic schedule. This was their 4th match in 10 days. Lee Hughes was back in the lineup again after being rested in the week, and on the stroke of half-time, he popped up in just the right spot to put the Travellers on top. Stevenage were sent crashing to their first home defeat of the season just 5 minutes into the second half. A far post header from Ben Burgess sees County climb to 7th.
Almost under the radar, Hartlepool have enjoyed a terrific start to the season. They haven't lost in the league and now are ensconced in the top 6. Mick Wadsworth has made some shrewd signings and Nobby Solano is proving to be one of them. He gave the home side the lead. Another of Wadsworth's summer additions is Colin Nish. He'd never played in English football till this season, but already he's starting to make an impact. The 30-year-old was beginning to have an increasing influence on the game as Pauls took control. After some probing play, Solano's pinpoint centre nearly bought a third. Nish's header thundering off the woodwork and away to safety. The former Hibs man did eventually get that second goal. A massive error from Andre Jones gifted the striker a free run-in on goalkeeper Trevor Carson. The finish showed the confidence that's flowing through the team at the moment. They're now unbeaten in 10 in the league, and that's the club's best run in over 4 years.
Yeovil have never beaten Sheffield Wednesday, and that run looks set to continue when, with just 10 minutes on the clock, some neat play by Ben Marshall allowed David McGoldrick to head home on his Owls debut after completing a loan move from Nottingham Forest. But Yeovil equalised just before the half hour in controversial circumstances. Play had stopped to allow treatment to Yeovil's Paul Huntington. Luke Ayling returned the ball to Wednesday, but goalkeeper Richard O'Donnell and Rob Jones collided, allowing a simple tap-in for Kieran Agard. The appeals fell on deaf ears as referee Brendan Malone said the goal stood. Agard arrived at Hewish Park in the summer after manager Terry Skiverton took to Twitter asking fans to recommend possible signings, and it appeared to be an inspired move when he netted his second 10 minutes later. Gary Megson's side were looking to flush away any lingering memories from that 5-1 defeat to Stevenage in midweek, and they levelled things up just over 5 minutes into the second half, defender Julian Bennett causing problems up from the back. Gary Medine has been in fine scoring form, and he added to his impressive early season tally with less than 20 minutes remaining. This headed goal was his 7th in 5 games. It completed the turnaround and gave the Owls their first away win since early March.
Exiled from Swindon but excelling in Chesterfield, it seems Leon Clark is determined to prove a point after his bust-up with Paolo Di Canio. His new club are reaping the rewards. The striker on target for a 3rd game in a row to give the Spireites an early lead. Carlisle have struggled at home but are yet to lose on the road. Midway through the half, James Berrett's corner caught out debut keeper Greg Fleming, and Lee Miller volleyed them back into contention. Miller's 5th of the campaign had the Travellers on terms for just 6 minutes. Danny Whittaker's centre measured to perfection for Clark to restore Chesterfield's lead. A terrific header had the home side on course for a 3rd successive win. Any hope of a Carlisle fight back disappeared early in the second half. Whittaker's free kick should have been cleared, and when it wasn't, Clark helped himself. His first ever hat-trick put Chesterfield firmly in command, and there was still time for his strike partner Craig Westcar to take his share of the headlines. The former Notts County man getting on the end of Nathan Smith's cross to top off a convincing display.
Les Perry's Tranmere returned to winning ways at Prenton Park thanks to a couple of set pieces. David Raven's free kick found Ian Goodison. Lucas Atkins picked out Enoch Shawunmi, who had little trouble with the finish. The second came right off the training ground. A good old-fashioned front post corner, worked to perfection. Ash Taylor first to react to John Welsh's cross, as Rovers condemned Wycombe to their 5th straight defeat.
Leyton Orient have made their worst start to a season in more than 30 years, and they went into their 2nd home game of the week bottom of the table. But they took the lead in the 18th minute when young striker George Porter found the back of the net. The 19-year-old clearly ecstatic with his first goal in professional football. At the other end of the age scale, Shefki Kuchi has already scored twice for the Latics following his arrival last month, and his signing looks like being a real coup for Paul Dickov. The veteran striker scored his 3rd Oldham goal 4 minutes into the second half. O's boss Russell Slade was unhappy with his side's defending throughout the match, and Oldham took the lead in the 65th minute when some lax marking allowed top scorer Ruben Reid to head home a Kuchi cross. Now he may be 34 years old, but Kuchi is enjoying life at Boundary Park, and he was enjoying his afternoon too. He then turned provider once more, this time for Matt Smith, who put the game beyond doubt. Oldham's 3rd away win of the season leaves Orient without a victory in 9.
Another frustrating day for Scunthorpe, who should be celebrating their 1st win of the season, but found themselves a goal down when Adam Chambers flicked Walsall into a first half lead. After a run of 3 straight defeats, the advantage was precious to the home team, who held on until 12 minutes from time. Following a goalmouth scramble, substitute Gary Thompson poked home the equaliser. Nothing more than Alan Neil's men deserved, but parity lasted barely 5 minutes. The decision to leave Will Grigg unmarked backfired big time. A fabulous volley had Dean Smith's team on course for maximum points. Hard on Scunthorpe, who haven't won at Walsall in over half a century, but in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Jimmy Ryan rescued the draw by drilling home the equaliser. Not the result they were looking for, but one that perhaps gets them pointing in the right direction.
After last week's very public spat with some of the club's fans, Bournemouth chairman Eddie Mitchell must feel a bit happier. Back-to-back wins for the Cherries has eased the pressure. The arrival of loan signing Wes Thomas seems to have been pivotal. He enjoyed a stroke of fortune when Billy Jones slipped, allowing him to get a 2nd in as many games. The Dorset side's look is definitely improving, and the victory was sealed in comical fashion in the final minute. Scott Malone's shot was cleared by Danny Coles, but only into the unfortunate Richard Duffy. Celebration time for the visitors, contrasting scenes to 7 days ago.
Certainly a much-needed win there for Bournemouth, but we're seeing some real surprising teams, I suppose, Leroy. Some teams that were doing so well last season, this season have started horrendously. The likes of Exeter, Leyton Orient, then add into the mix Scunthorpe and Wycombe. Which of those has particularly surprised you?
Well, Leyton Orient, especially, I know Russell Slade well. They had a decent season last year, so I certainly didn't expect that. And Scunthorpe, I thought Anna Neal would hit the ground running. You know, after taking over towards the end of last season, you know, they got him from Bury. I thought it was an excellent appointment. And it hasn't quite happened for them. It's still early days yet, so they can find a spark. And they're two sides, I think, that if they start to score goals and win games, they can easily get into a run.
Chesterfield themselves had a slow start, but they're picking themselves up nicely now under John Sheridan. What a story it's turning out to be for Leon Clark.
Well, it's a great chance for Leon Clark, and John Sheridan's given him that. He's shown some belief in the young man where I don't think a lot of people would have. No. And Leon is scoring goals. He looks happy, he looks confident. I'm sure John isn't asking him to do extra running after games as well, which would help. But, you know, there's no doubt in Leon Clark's ability. No one's ever doubted that. It's just his attitude at times. I'm sure Leon might have thought, after seeing what happened at Swindon, that maybe it is his last chance to actually show what he can do. And in the last 3 or 4 games, he's certainly done that.
Interestingly, also a few similarities when Craig Davies first arrived and John got the best out of him.
I think John's got this knack of seeing the best in people, you know, and putting aside their past or things that they might have done. You know, everybody makes mistakes and you can move forward. And it seems at Chesterfield they're allowed to move forward, play their football and enjoy it.
One player that will get you goals at this level, Neil Mellor. And he's certainly proven it. I mean, 4 goals in the last 2 games. Preston are doing well at the minute.
They are. People also call Neil Mellor the youngster from Liverpool. He's 28 now, Neil, but he's always been able to finish. And you know what, with him and the other goal scorer today in Hume, they're more or less the elder statesmen, I think, at Preston. A lot of young players coming through then with the enthusiasm of Phil Brown. It seems like it's a nice little recipe.
Great story developing at Hartlepool. We're talking them almost on a weekly basis. They're doubling their gates at the minute, the attendances at Victoria Park. They're watching people like Nobby Solano come on and score. These are good times for the club and they can attract more fans now.
Absolutely. And when I was at Torquay, I always just looked for Hartlepool's gates because they were one of the gates were fewer in Torquay. And Mick
not anymore.
Not anymore, you know, over 5,000, which is fantastic. It might not sound a lot, but it's fantastic for Hartlepool. It's because Mick Wadsworth's done a good job and they're playing good football and winning games.
Also helps when it's £100 for a season ticket. Well, as for League Two, and a midweek draw with Macclesfield was enough to keep Morecambe top of the table going into the weekend. The leaders were down in East London on Saturday to take on Dagenham and Redbridge.
Morecambe boss Jim Bentley has only been in the job since May, but he's taken to it like a duck to water. And it was his side who took the lead in soggy East London when Danny Carlton chased down a long ball forward from Kevin Ellison just after half-time. Ellison was involved in the second less than 10 minutes later. His ball out wide found Lawrence Wilson, whose cross was parried into the path of a grateful Stuart Drummond. Dagenham and Redbridge have lost their last 3 matches before today, and they failed to pick up a point yet again. Oliver Lee's free kick may have been impressive, but it was ultimately in vain. That was because that man Ellison managed to clear Brian Woodall's effort off the line 15 minutes from time. Bentley's side are now unbeaten in 8.
Two managers putting friendship to one side in pursuit of points. Rotherham's blistering start at Torquay showed there was no room for sentiment. Lewis Grabban gave the Millers the perfect start. Andy Scott worked under Martin Ling at Leyton Orient, and he had his former boss in even more trouble inside 10 minutes as Ryan Creswell crashed in the second. But Torquay, playing with a new 3-pronged attack, responded virtually straight away. Billy Bowden exchanged passes with Ewan O'Kane to put his team back in it. 3 goals in a breathless first 11 minutes and still plenty more to come. The impressive Gareth Evans sent over the perfect cross for Grabban to restore the South Yorkshire club's 2-goal cushion. But the home side refused to cave in. 3 minutes before the break, Kevin Nicholson found a gaping hole in the Millers' back line and after 2 attempts made sure the second half was finally poised. Torquay now had the momentum. Rennie Howe and Creswell had been tussling all afternoon, and when the Millers captain got caught in possession, the big man made sure he paid for it. A sublime finish squared the game up at 3 apiece, and after entertainment like this, neither side deserved to go home with nothing. The Millers had the post to thank for denying Bowden a winner right at the death.
If it's goals you're looking for, then Vale Park's the place to go. 25 of them in the last 5 games. So no surprises, it only took 3 minutes for the first breach. Shrewsbury's Marvin Morgan showing great skill to give the visitors the lead. That was doubled 11 minutes later when Joe Jacobson laid in Mark Wright and he remained cool under pressure. Vale have scored in every game so far this season and maintained that record when summer signing Ben Williamson neatly lobbed Ben Smith to register his first for the club. The Shrews' 2-goal advantage was restored just after the break. This time, Wright, the creator, he picked out Lionel Ainsworth, the former Watford man, smashing home his first of the season. There was still some fight left in Mickey Adams' side, who set up a grandstand finish 9 minutes from time. Tom Pope set up Williamson for his second of the game, but that wouldn't be enough to tame the Shrews, who move into the top three.
A first ever meeting between these two clubs began brightly for the home side. Half an hour was on the clock when Ricky Wellard nodded home a Sammy Hatton cross. The Dons suffered a 3-0 defeat to Northampton in their last match, but you got the feeling it was going to be their day when 5 minutes before half-time, Steve Elliott diverted Lee Minshall's cross into his own net. The points were all but sealed for Terry Brown's men midway through the second half. Jack Midson has already shown this season he knows how to find the back of the net, and when he was left unmarked at the far post, there was only one outcome, 3-0. The assist for that goal came from Rashid Youssef, who then got the fourth himself. Luke Moore crossed, Midson had his shot saved, and Youssef hit home at the second time of asking. Cheltenham fans did have something to celebrate in the 89th minute. Darryl Duffy's header, however, was no more than a consolation. AFC Wimbledon securing their biggest win since promotion to the Football League.
Paolo Di Canio wants a new striker after his Swindon side misfired at Burton. Alan Connell, one of the guilty ones. The Italian says he wants a player who will attack the ball with desire. Burton had two front men on show who definitely aren't lacking in that department. The determination of Justin Richards paved the way for Billy Key to score his first for the club. If Di Canio was upset with his side's lack of finishing, he was equally distressed by what was going on at the back. He accused Matteo Lanzano of killing the game, the keeper taking his eye completely off the ball, and Jack Mahoma made him pay to stretch Burton's unbeaten run to 4 games.
Crawley haven't lost 3 in a row in 3.5 years, and after back-to-back defeats, they found themselves trailing early on. Phil Parkinson's first signing since taking charge of Bradford, Kyle Reid opened his account. That was the way that things stayed till the second half, when Steve Evans' side finally kicked into gear. Matt Tubbs' cross picked out Tyrone Barnett, whose header levelled the score. Evans handed debuts to new signings Claude Davis and Andy Drury. The Ipswich loanee made an instant impact, his effort bringing the supporters at the Broadfield Stadium to their feet. The Bantams had chances to equalise in the closing stages, but it was the Red Devils who were more clinical. Victory was confirmed 2 minutes from time. Barnett capitalised on Luke Oliver's howler to roll in his second of the game and send Crawley back to winning ways.
Plymouth Argyle came into this match as the only side in League Two without a win, and already at this early stage they were 5 points from safety. Peter Reid's side's resilience lasted over an hour, but Southend took the lead after Michael Timlin was fouled in the box by Darrell Berry. Liam Dickinson tucked home the resulting penalty against his former club, a perfect response following a 3-game ban. The task was made even harder for the Devon side when a few minutes after conceding they went down to 10 men. Referee Michael Naylor sent off captain Carl Fletcher after he grabbed at Timlin. After the ruckus had died down, the frustration was clear for all to see. It looked like being another difficult afternoon for the visitors. Paul Sturrock's current side then condemned his former club to an 8th successive league defeat when Peter Gilbert headed home with 10 minutes remaining. The victory moves the Shrimpers into the playoff places.
Oxford are into the playoff places after 2 first-half goals were enough to clinch the points in North London. Alfie Potter had the Barnet back line retreating, and when his cross was only partially cleared, Simon Heslop had time to pick his spot. A well-taken strike had United on course to stretch their unbeaten run to 3 games. Just 5 minutes after the opener, Chris Wilder's team doubled their advantage. Another cross wasn't properly cleared, giving Peter Levin the chance to tee up Liam Davis. A sublime chip matched by the quality of the finish. The result, though, came at a cost for Oxford, who finished the game with 10 men. Jake Wright deciding the best way to stop Sam Deering was to dump him on the deck. A second yellow card for the Oxford man, who departed the pitch slightly earlier than his teammates.
Bristol Rovers manager Paul Buckle feels their defeat to Aldershot should serve as a reality check for everyone at the club. Michael Rankin seized on Adam Virgo's error to race clear. His attempt blocked but fell invitingly for Alex Rodman. 1 goal enough for Dean Holdsworth's shots, who are now undefeated in 7.
This was a battle between two sides struggling for form. Hereford went into the game with only Plymouth separating them from the bottom of the Football League, and they fell behind in the 19th minute when West Ham loanee Frank Noble scored on his debut. 5 minutes later and it was 2-0. In the week he's been told he can leave the club on loan, defender Gary Richards headed the visitors into the ascendancy. Any hopes the home side had of a comeback were all but extinguished 5 minutes before the break, and the nature of Joe Heath's own goal confirmed this wasn't going to be Hereford's day. 4 minutes into the second half and it was 4-0. Danny Jackman was now getting in on the act with just his second goal in 2 years. He doesn't get many, but they're impressive when they arrive. Things then went from bad to worse for the home side. They were presented with the chance to pull back a consolation, but Rob Purdy's penalty smacked back off the bar. Andy Hessenthaler's side hadn't scored in half an hour, but with 11 minutes remaining, Chris Whelpdale became the 5th goal scorer of the afternoon, a goalkeeping mistake from Dave Cornell compounding Hereford woes. The Gills had only scored once in their last 4 matches, but they made it 6-0 in the 83rd minute. Stefan Payne completed Hereford's humiliation. The home side did pull one back through Sam Winnell with 3 minutes to play, but the damage had been done. It was the Bulls' heaviest home defeat since they returned to the Football League.
After a miserable start to the campaign, things are looking up for Crewe, who had the luxury of 2 early goals at Accrington. AJ Leach-Smith gave Sean Miller a glimpse of goal and then found himself in an even better position. A smart finish had the Travellers ahead after just 11 minutes. Dario Gradi's football philosophy is to pass and move, and their second soon after was straight out of the handbook. Ashley Westwood eventually taking control in midfield and then supplying the perfect pass for Byron Moore. Crewe now in control, and Accrington left staring at their first defeat in 4 games. They did their best to repair the damage, but found goalkeeper Steve Phillips in stubborn mood. A 4th win in 5 sets Crewe up nicely for next week's derby against Port Vale.
After their midweek win over Wimbledon, Northampton boss Gary Johnson demanded a repeat performance from his players. They couldn't deliver and found themselves trailing before the break. Sam Walker's daisy-cutting clearance gifted Ben Tomlinson an opportunity. It was one he didn't squander. That stirred the Cobblers from their slumber, and on the stroke of half-time they levelled. Michael Jacobs' vision opened up the game for Lewis Young. His cross invited a goal. Molon Jackson obliged. His first since moving to the club on a youth loan from Bristol City. So all square at the break and plenty for the managers to ponder. A fairly sedate second half exploded into life in the final 6 minutes. The Siltmans seized control of the match with Tomlinson acrobatically adding to his earlier strike. Effectively game over. With victory in sight, Mac manager Gary Simpson made a double substitution. Colin Daniel needed less than 3 minutes to make his mark on the game. With Northampton looking for a leveller, Daniel struck at the other end to send the Moss Rose faithful home happy, as their team are now unbeaten in 4.
It certainly has been a great week for Ben Tomlinson at Macclesfield. As for Morecambe, well, I think the kit man will be breakdancing in the dressing room after what we saw last weekend. Unbeaten in 8, they're not conceding goals, but they're scoring plenty. It's a formula that's clearly working.
Well, Jim Bentley, is centre-half. He grabs me as someone who loves a clean sheet. But, they're scoring goals as well. And I think what he's done is just had a slightly different emphasis. He's taken everything that Sammy McIlroy did with some good stuff, Morecambe play some good football, and he's just added his own ideas, and it's working brilliantly for him.
Great to see Burton doing well. they've not been in the Football League that long, it's easy to forget, and their highest position ever, about 4th place. And back-to-back wins finally after 16 months.
Absolutely. I mean, it was always going to be difficult for Burton to do an Exeter or Stevenage and go through the divisions, but, you know, it's hard for a team to, like a person like Paul Pescalisi, to walk into the shoes of Nigel Clough, who was at Burton for I don't know how many years, 10 years was it, and lay down his own foundation. He's done that. They've struggled at times, but they're starting to come through it. The board believe in him, that's for sure, and they're starting to get their rewards. And they're, you know, 4th place. You know, it's a great start for them. Now, can they build on it?
Gillingham got the biggest win of the day, arguably the best goal of the day too. Andy Essenthaler was threatening to make the changes, but they certainly came up trumps against Hereford.
Yeah, it's a great finish by Jackman, isn't it? Just curls it into that far corner, but, you know, it's tough times now for Hereford. Jamie Pitman's finding out, you know, he hasn't had a full season, but it's into his 2nd season. Yeah. And, you know, they haven't really moved forward from where they were last year.
Well, this is it. They stuttered towards the end of last season. I mean, they were perilously close to falling out of the Football League. The pressure's on him now, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is.
And obviously the fans will start thinking, well, he was a physio, maybe he wasn't cut out to be a manager.
Yeah, the fans will start thinking lots of different things. But one thing they'll also be thinking is Simon Davey went after 10 games last year.
He did, yeah.
And they were in exactly the same position, and have the club move forward. It's a difficult club to manage, there's no doubt about it. But they will still want to be moving forward, and you know, it's just tough for Jamie at the moment. OK, well, before we go, then let's see what Saturday's results means to the tables. Well, in N-Power League 2, Morecambe's great run goes on. Another win, and they pull clear of 2nd place Rotherham, with the Millers held to a draw at Torquay. Shrewsbury move into 3rd after their good away win over neighbours Port Vale. Burton, Crawley, Southend and Oxford make up the top 7, with all of them getting good wins on Saturday. While at the bottom, Plymouth lost their 8th straight league game and are still 4 points behind Hereford, who are of course hammered at home by Gillingham. Crewe and Macclesfield were the only sides that won in the bottom half, with the other 10 sides all losing. In League One, Charlton and Sheffield United increased their advantage at the top to 3 points now, as Huddersfield and MK Dons drew. Hartlepool and Preston continue their impressive winning streaks, but there are another 3 sides on 16 points. Well, it's as you were in terms of the bottom 4. Good wins for Bournemouth and Chesterfield means they climb the table and pull away from the relegation zone. Middlesbrough are the new leaders at the top of the Championship after they won at Palace and Brighton lost at Leicester. But Southampton can end the weekend at the Summit with a win at home to Birmingham on Sunday. Well, Doncaster are still looking for their first win and haven't won a league match now in over 6 months. Forest drop into the relegation zone after Reading won. And with that win, the Royals have jumped up 9 places to 14th. Don't forget, Ipswich take on Coventry on Monday night, and that's at Portman Road. Now, don't forget, if you want to watch back the programme again, it is available on satellite and cable from now until midday, although it's not on Freeview this time, but it is on the iPlayer all week. And for extended match highlights, just go to the BBC Sport website. Now, don't forget, Match of the Day 2 is on Sunday night. Colin will have the best of the day's action from the Premier League, including highlights of Manchester United versus Chelsea. That's at 10 o'clock on 2. As for us, well, we're back in midweek with the League Cup show, and we'll have the best of the action from round 3 of the Carling Cup. Yeah, looking forward to that. Leroy, good to have your company this evening. So we'll see you on Wednesday, but from Leroy and from me for now, good night.